Greeting, Dark Horses, and welcome back. We're doing another podcast today. Professor Charles, myself, Dr. Armbar.
So we are talking about progression, talking about what it takes to advance from one belt to the next, what we are looking for in each level. Probably some tips and tricks and stories about getting there, and all that kind of thing. Whatever comes to our mind for the next, however long it comes to our mind.
Are you in? Let's do it.
All right. So talking about belts, I mean, let's start at the beginning. Start at the
white belt. The biggest stumbling block, obviously, most students never make it to blue. And probably some of those people, never would. But there's plenty of things where, like a more supportive academy, or kind of in general, but more specifically, like students that are better equipped to train with each other and take care of each other, and instructors that have a better, keener eye on how to help a student could make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Get over the hump. It's always hard to be the nail. The old adage, when you're the nail, be patient. When you're the hammer, strike. Man, no one wants to be the nail.
No.
But there's not really any other choice.
No. And I think, in prepping for sitting down today, we read, some various things from, various reference materials from our past, and different things that we used to kind of build up what we think of as our conception of the techniques now. And a theme that I kind of saw, and still, absolutely holds true, is white belt's all about surviving. And generally, I don't think of surviving like I'm going to live or die kind of surviving, but think of it like making the match last as long as possible. Right? I think it's pretty common in the first few months that you're training. Like, everything seems really fast, and anytime you get tangled up with somebody, it's
so
the 20
intense.
most intense seconds of your life, but it really is only 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're not getting a whole lot of repetitions, you're not getting a whole lot of exposure, you can learn stuff in 20 seconds, but you learn a whole lot more in 4 continuous minutes. And so I think that's the big thing that I want to encourage, I want to see from white belts is like, make it last.
Some people can decide in their mind to not go into battle mode and can roll and kind of slow themselves down. And if you can do that, that will help you to see a lot more of what's going on, to remember a lot more of it later, to not use too much strength and intensity and make it much riskier for yourself and for your partner to either you injure yourself or injure them.
Yeah.
Probably most people can't.
Not at first.
Not without a lot of practice.
Yeah.
We're talking about white belts, so they don't have a lot of practice. Things to help them out. So lowered expectations, right? Being there to learn, being humble with the losses, like knowing it's a part of the process, enjoying the process, because you still get the exercise, you still get to battle a little bit, you get to sweat, you get to put yourself in that mind state that is very different from the normal one, and then come back to it, and you get that release of endorphins and the release of the stress, and then micro goals, like making a match last a little bit longer. Every time you roll with so-and-so and they do this, and finish, this, finish over and over again. If you make them do this, that, the other thing, and then finish, man, that's 2 or 3 steps that you added to a roll. And that's a success worth celebrating, definitely worth paying attention to, because that might be all you have for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good,
Yeah. I think jiu-jitsu is kind of distinct, maybe not so much in the arena of high contact sport, but just in the fact that it is a high contact sport is kind of unique, because if you take up the piano, 99% of the people that take up piano are not going to become experts. They're not gonna put all that time into it, and they're gonna practice for a while and have some fun and leave it behind. But
Like,
during that,
learn to play a song on day 1 or day 3 or whatever.
Mhm.
You can play Yankee Doodle, and it sounds pretty good.
Right. Um, and people will study the piano for a while and then put it down and move on with their life, and it's not a big deal. And the folks that really, really want it will get it. And so if you've got a good instructor, if you've got a good environment, if you've got healthy support around you, then you're far less likely to quit the piano. And the same goes with jiu-jitsu, but there's a much more distinct element because it is high contact. I think, no, you've got to want it. You've got to say, I know that my ears are going to get pinned to the side of my head and swole up, and I know my nose is going to be scratched and gi burned, and I know I'm going to be sore, and I accept that this is what it is.
It's like on day 1 you have a recital, right?
Yeah.
You thought you could play Yankee Doodle Dandy, and then someone smashed your hands, and you couldn't breathe, and you couldn't play Yankee Doodle Dandy at all.
No.
So you had it, then you didn't have it. You didn't have it.
Yeah, so I think that survival, like deciding, okay, I'm going to hang out. It's going to be more uncomfortable than other things I do, but I want to be here.
Acceptance of the reality of the situation.
Mm.
Sounds so simple, so profound.
Honestly, that sounds like all of jiu-jitsu to me. Acceptance of the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Not as you want it to be, but as it is.
Right here, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when people can accept that reality, all right, new challenge, you're a blue belt.
It's very zen of you, Professor. Very zen. Focusing on escapes, mount back side control, but also common submissions, armbar triangle, but like any submission that you're getting caught in over and over again, or any position where you get stuck, like that has an answer, right? So, like the first step is like learning the name, like, hey, what was that submission you caught me in? He says triangle. And you're like, okay, I know the name, and then you can shop it around. How do I get out of a triangle? How do I get out of a triangle? How do I get out of a triangle? When you work on those, you drill them, you're going to be caught in it again because you're going to end up rolling with that same person. But then you have answers at the very least, and over time you'll definitely develop defenses and escapes and counters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paint by numbers. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No. And I think a lot of it too is kind of learning your ABCs. So yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't discover a brand new way to communicate. Go ask somebody. They know the ABCs. Get them, lay them out in a line, repeat them over and over again.
Some students kind of by their nature almost have to. I've had a student, and I know an instructor of mine, I know J. Jack kind of had to invent his own style. So there are those people, and J. Jack is very, very good at jiu-jitsu. I definitely don't recommend it for most people. What was the thing about there is a time for questions?
Yeah, there's a time for questions, but that's not the white belt. And the white belt focus and train.
It was the University of Jiu-Jitsu said a student having trust that their instructor wants to help them build them up is primary for white belt, right? And holding on to that trust and like really paying attention to the techniques that they're teaching, I think is worth going over. Is worth reinforcing. I want all of my students to succeed from the bottom of my heart, but do they know that?
Hope so.
Yeah. So building rapport, right, building a connection is important. Building a line of dialogue is important. You having questions is completely natural and is important because I want you to engage with the material. And the one we were talking about before, like one of the most common is you see a move and you're like, wow, that move's awesome. I don't want to be in it. So you always think of the opposite, like how do I stop that move? And I, as a matter of course, almost never teach a move and its counter in the same class. Because, in my experience, subconsciously, I think, they learn the move, they learn the counter, like, I know how to stop that move. And they don't learn the move. They just hold on to the counter. which there's some utility to it, but not nearly as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm reminded of the expression like chasing two rabbits,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, if you want to get good at attacking, don't practice attacking and defending at the same time. Practice attacking, right? If you want to get good at the pendulum sweep, don't practice pendulum sweep and mount escape. Practice the pendulum sweep. Like, chase one rabbit, get good at the one thing. Then, once you've caught it, feasted on delicious rabbit, pick the next one.
Go after the other one. Yeah, if you're constantly thinking about the next move, that means you're not focused on learning this move.
Yes. And again, coming back to the white belt thing, right? Be right here, right now. Present.
There always his mind on where he is going, never on the task at hand. I just butchered a Star Wars quote, but so true.
Yeah. Okay. So
I encourage white belts to pick a guard game.
yes, earlier the better.
Yeah, like it may take 6 months to a year. I think a year is probably a good rule of thumb to have success with a guard game, like fully fleshed out. That's how long it takes me, anyways. But that's how like blue belts, purple belts win tournaments year after year, over and over again. They have a specialty, and they make the fight all about that. Where the time they've put in on that one thing is way more than the time that their opponent has put in on how to beat it. So their chances of winning are astronomically higher. It also, as a white belt, even if you're starting to have any success from it, like that's huge. You're having success at white belt, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my white belt experience just completely shifted, and I started having so much more fun, having a better time when I decided, or when I got it in my head, like, okay, closed guard is home base. Whatever's happening, I'm going to go back to closed guard, settle in, start at my home base, and then everything gets cool.
You can slow down, you can breathe, you can calm your mind down, and you can start to think methodically. Okay, what do I want to do?
Yep.
Put the hand in the collar, start attacking the choke, or what?
Right.
The focus is for white belt technically escapes, positional escapes,
100%.
mount, back, side control, knee on belly, submission escapes. Did we talk about this already? Are we repeating ourselves?
I don't think so.
Submission escapes, common submissions, arm bars, triangles, and like the fundamental curriculum has a lot of that in it. It also has some attacks, in part just to give you some offensive ideas, some things to work on, like a truly honest isn't the right word, but a truly honest fundamental curriculum would be just purely positional escapes and submission escapes, because that's what you're going to be focusing on. So, but that's not fun.
Right. So yeah, a more general overview is kind of what we settled on in the fundamentals curriculum.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if all you did for the first 8 months was side control escape and replacing the guard and escaping the back and replacing the guard, and you only worked on that, for one thing, unless you were a very particular kind of person, you're probably really bored. And the other side of that is you're kind of missing a little bit of that context. Right? Wait, why can't I just chill here, laying flat on my back? Why can't I, or what do I do once I've escaped from this position?
I escaped the closed guard. What do I do now?
Right.
I don't know anything.
So having I think having an idea of what those basics, what the, I don't know, like the big three from guard and the Americana Kimura from top positions, rear naked choke, and having a good good overview of your basic submissions could be pretty important for white belts.
It is super important, for sure.
It's like being able to see the top of the mountain, even if you can't climb there yet.
Yeah, for aspirational, at the very least. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the fundamental curriculum, we do connect defensive with offense. So we'll connect an escape and move directly into an attack from that new position, which is pretty advanced concept, but any white belt can understand it. And if they're thinking about it and thinking about applying it to other situations, then they'll be super fruitful at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Survive long enough to start biting at people.
And then dark horse is non-standard. We have a belt between white and
We
blue.
do. Yeah.
We've added a green belt,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a little iffy on it at first, and at this point I'm like fully committed. I think it helps a lot of people see that they have made progress,
Mm-hmm.
and stick around, and they take pride in it. There could be a downside where green belts think that they know something and they lose a little bit of humility, but I don't see that as a huge problem.
Yeah, and I don't often see that problem. I don't see a lot of times green belts getting a great big head and you know.
They're still getting smashed every day.
Oh yeah, yeah. I really like the green belt, and I do like that idea of advancement. I think it can be really helpful for some people. Like some folks make an accomplishment, they accomplish something, and then feel good about it, and then like already in their head, oh yeah, I deserve advancement, ready to go. And some folks, like myself, where it's like, am I good at this? Am I doing this correctly? Is this?
I really deserve that?
Yeah.
Am I good enough for it?
And so yeah, as I'm asking all these questions, you know, all of a sudden I get outside reinforcement saying, hey, you're pretty good at this. And then maybe I get that spark in the back of my head like, wait a second, I might be good at this. Well, if I am good at this, I should work extra hard to like make sure that I got it. So I think the students that take that kind of approach and are encouraged to then think of themselves as advancing, it can
Positive
be
reinforcement is
super
huge,
helpful. Yeah.
huge, and jiu-jitsu has so much negative reinforcement built into it already.
Yeah.
You are gonna get your ass kicked, man.
Literally.
Literally, over and over again, in the most painful and exotic and weird ways that you would never imagine in a million years.
Yeah.
So a green belt is positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, playing on the other side of the aisle. Huh.
Yeah. I think it's great too to have that transition between white and blue, where cause I describe jiu-jitsu like a language a lot, and so if that white belt is learning your ABCs and learning your basic vocabulary, blue belt is kind of putting together sentences, right? Like, I know how to go from my feet all the way to submission, right? Like a capital letter to a period.
Yeah.
I really like the green belt where folks are starting to put together, you know, not a whole sentence,
Words,
maybe
a couple words together.
right, a phrase, and all of a sudden, you know, like it's not just a noun sitting out there in the ether. All of a sudden, we have like some motion, some meaning, something bigger is happening. And I think it's cool that there's that space for folks to kind of try it out, experiment, see where, test out their phrasing without any big consequences yet.
The language metaphor is a really good one in a couple different ways. In like a completely different way, I talk about it when you're learning how to roll, or like you're learning how to roll and you're going balls out. It's like trying to learn how to speak a language by shouting the whole time. Doesn't make you any better at the language.
Makes you extra American.
Yeah, there are assholes everywhere, but we have our own brand of them for sure. And then, you know, kind of on the far end, like towards black belt, you know, I feel like explaining higher concept sometimes is like there's like two stages of misunderstanding. Like not only do they not speak it's like I'm trying to describe a territory in Brazil to them in Portuguese. Like not only do they not know the territory, they don't speak the language yet.
Yeah.
Like it's a two-stage problem. Once you know the language, I can start showing you all the sites.
Yeah. Yeah. Run into that all the time. And so, yeah, I think that green belt makes a good transition to where, I mean, if we're using that same kind of metaphor, to where either, you know, you picked up a couple phrases of Portuguese, so things have just a touch more meaning for you, or similarly, like maybe in the green belt, like, oh, I've seen this city before, or I've seen a picture of it, or something. I have an idea, not completely, you know.
Could be a stick figure.
Could be a stick figure. It's not a great idea yet, but there it is. Yeah, I feel that way a lot too when I'm trying to explain something big, or like, oftentimes it'll be something, it's a great big concept in my mind, but the technique is small. It's a subtle thing. It's a little something.
Yeah.
And I always feel like, oh man, yeah, I can just tell you to put your hand in the spot, but that doesn't help. I really need to tell you why.
Yeah.
And why is going to take me a minute.
It has action reaction. It has their expectations, what they think they're going to do, which is completely different from what you're actually trying to do. You got to get the timing. You got there's this tiny little grip difference, which you can't see. You got to put your hand here instead of here.
You got to reinforce with your own body. You got to plan
7 minutes
for where you're
later,
going.
they got it. 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So as we're pushing into that blue belt, for me, blue belt is, I say, the most objective. As I'm explaining it to students, I'll say the blue belt is the most objective. Right? I have a fairly concrete list of things that I want to see.
They need to have solid escapes from mount, back,
Absolutely.
side control, probably neon belly.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be able to defend an armbar or a triangle.
Yes.
They need to have some sort of offensive capability from somewhere. Could
Yes.
be a triangle game. I usually push people towards a guard game of some kind, but there are other ways to go about it.
I like to encourage people to settle into a top position and attack. I mean, I'm like almost overly traditional in that.
Have a good, strong finishing position from on top.
Yeah.
This is the best. Gravity's on your side.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And more importantly, like, control the position, right? Like, you don't rely on snapping up a submission, you know, by getting lucky in the first 2 seconds. Like, settle in, really, you know, dominate side control or mount or neon belly or whatever, and attack.
Anything else that you're looking for a blue belt?
Self-defense, all day long. Self-defense. I tell people constantly, if you can helicopter armbar black belt world champions, I don't care. If you cannot get out of a headlock, you don't get a blue belt. Period.
Well, and we've changed it around over the years, and we're still kind of tinkering with the formula of how to separate more like sportive jiu-jitsu versus self-defense, because I remember teaching like the punch block series to a fundamental student in fundamental class, which is just both together, and then seeing them in a tournament trying to do the punch block series and being fairly frustrated with myself.
Yeah.
Not with them, because I clearly didn't make it clear enough to them what they should be doing from close guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. That is kind of a struggle how to keep that present in class without it being, preachy and seminar and not useful to the things that they're going to be doing 20 minutes from that lesson rolling live, so.
It's just not as interesting to the students, which is weird because most students, whether they'll admit it or not, when they came in to learn how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the most direct pieces of that they're going to get.
Yeah, and hate to break this to you, sport jiu-jitsu guys, but rolling in the school is not like a fight. I mean, in some ways, certainly. but
It's missing quite a few important elements for sure.
like the pain, the hurting.
The pain, the punching, the kicking,
I mean, even without the punching and the kicking.
the concrete.
Yeah.
Missing the concrete.
The rubbing your shoulders on brick walls and the
The first
scraping your knee across concrete.
fight I got into after starting to train jiu-jitsu, nope, I take that back. The second one, not the first. And he squared off and he was getting ready to try to punch me. And I was like, all right, I'm going to shoot a double. And I was like, I looked at the concrete and I looked at my flip-flops and I was like, ugh, I don't want to. I don't remember what happened. But, yeah, I remember vividly going through that thought process. Concrete, flip-flops, double leg, punches. Ugh. I think I clinched with him and bear hugged him or something.
Okay. You didn't pull the old clap and shoot?
No, I didn't know. I don't think I knew that at the time. If I learned that as a white belt, I forgot it somewhere in the intervening years, and I relearned it as like a brown and a black belt. I did pull guard one fight.
How'd that go?
It went fine, but I decided never to do that again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine why not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pull close guard. The look on his eyes. Oh. Green belt, blue belt, and really the blue belt is for sure you're now for sure seen as a leader by all the green and white belts in the academy. So it's more important to take on just a little bit of a leadership role. Helping new students, introducing yourself to new students, taking care of students enrolling, obviously, teaching them pieces here or there, grabbing a white belt and drilling before or after class, being a leader, getting people, organizing the mopping after class,
Yeah.
helping people tie belts. All these are things that any blue belt can do.
And should be ready to do, because like the minute it's tied around your waist, somebody's going to turn to you and ask, how does that work? Or what does this mean? Or what am I supposed to do? You know, that without fail, like that knot will secure itself and somebody will ask you a question. So, you know, just be ready as a blue belt to be answering those questions. And that doesn't mean like you have to have all the answers all the time. As a blue belt, I don't know, is a perfectly acceptable answer.
As a black belt, I don't know.
Sure.
It is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Yeah.
What I started doing when I didn't was we get into the position when we mess around with something and see what we could figure out. You can also kick it up the line to a higher belt.
Yeah.
I mean, just I don't know. Period is end of sentence is also fine.
Yeah. But saying, you know, like, I don't know, let's drill it. I don't know, but I know something kind of similar. I don't know, but I have a good idea of what, you know, how to frame and shrimp and, you know, how to protect myself. So let's try it. But yeah, I mean, I think being ready to answer those questions, being ready to step up as a leader is definitely a part of that blue belt. Because, well, it's one of the things I like best about jiu-jitsu culture.
What's that?
It's super easy to tell, like, who's been here and who's, like, who knows what they're talking about, who's in charge. And there's a very clear visual delineation.
Yeah.
That guy knows more jiu-jitsu than that guy.
Yeah. I remember being a blue belt and still feeling like I basically knew nothing. So I can understand some hesitancy about being a leader, answering questions, whatever, but kind of turning around, looking at it as an opportunity, right? Trying to help them out.
Oh, absolutely.
And not having to pretend like you know anything you don't, but willing to go through the process with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that's a great big problem in jiu-jitsu. People like pretending to know and not knowing anything.
No, but I do think like blue belts feel pressure to act like they know something. You know,
Yeah.
like they have a blue belt, so they have to be a blue belt, which means they have to know something. Well, they don't have to know something about everything. They don't have to know everything about everything. Right?
No.
They know what they know, and that's enough. And being honest with that is fine. But putting yourself out there and helping a green belt and a white belt makes a huge difference. Like the most important thing for an academy. Blue belts, they're helping the lower belts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, of course, that just ramps up. It just continues with increasing intensity as the players
We'd love to
advance
say
through
purple belt.
purple belt, where things get a little more subjective.
Yeah. And yet, in some ways, easier to see. The connection of defense to offense, the connection of multiple offensive options. The purple belt isn't often stumped. Like they always have something to say. Like going back to that language metaphor, right? They're always trying to get to a move or trying a move.
So I'm reminded of, like, again, with the language thing, people will say all the time, like, oh yeah, I learned so much Portuguese when I would forget a word and have to talk around the meaning.
Circumlocute.
Yes. Yeah, okay. When they had to circumlocute whatever piece of information, right? So I think purple belts do a lot of that same thing. If they don't have like this specific answer, they have enough jujitsu to go around it, to make something work in that space, even if it's not necessarily the one thing that they wanted it to begin with, right? They can make something work, even if it's
and kind of the same concept, the different application. Purple belts will often be fairly adept at circumlocuting around a blue belt's strength.
Oh yeah.
Instead of, right, and that's a skill. Putting yourself into that person's strength and trying to work through it is also a skill. But like, the smart strategy is don't get there, right? So learning how to apply that in real world on the mats training. That's their strength. Cool. I'm not going there. Not taking on the mats, in the room, training like a competition. You should go there and try to work through it. Some of the time, at least.
Yeah. I think too, purple belts start to develop the ability to go there, right? To pick where they go.
Yeah.
I think in the blue belt, and you get two blue belts matched with each other, in a lot of cases they will be able to adapt to.
Once they've been rolling and battling over and over again, one person gets really good at whatever to not get to that one place where they lose to the other person.
Yeah.
That kind of becomes the on-game game.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've seen so much of that where folks will learn, right? They don't learn overall jujitsu. And it's like, oh no, I know Andrew jujitsu. So I can counter all his moves, but I can't counter moves in general.
Getting my butt kicked by a purple belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a different game.
Yeah, so I feel like blue belts are a little more like reactive, right? Where they have less control of where the flow goes or where they go. Where a purple belt can say, ooh, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going away. Or a purple belt can similarly say, like, well, my side control escapes are not feeling good this week. So I am going to get to side control as many times as I can and hit my escape. And can go where they want to go with that confidence and get themselves back out when they need to.
That takes some confidence. That takes some discipline. It's so easy to play in the sandbox and just let it go where it goes, right? But having a couple ideas that you're applying regularly makes a huge difference to how fast you grow on the mats.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have a list because you're not going to be able to hold that in your brain while you're training. But just a couple, like a move or two, and then like a concept or two. Like I really need to work on side control. So if I win my first roll, that's great. I'm going to slap hands, and then they're going to pass. And maybe I have to help them pass, but I'm going to steer them into side control so I can work on my escapes.
Yeah, and all that's just going to come from increased exposure, more reps, more mat time, helping people out, right? If you've helped 85 green belts walk through their mount escape, then hey, that's 95 more reps. And you say, oh yeah, I always remind people to dig that elbow in between the ribs and the knee. So I'm gonna make sure I do that.
You understand it from a whole different way once you start teaching it. And you'll see, if you teach it to 10 different people, you may have to teach it a couple different ways. You may have to fiddle with it a little bit, but in the process, you learn a lot more about that move.
Yeah, yeah. I think too. There's a. I think he said one of the magic words. There's a big distinction, blue to purple, is some teaching.
That's like a stereotypical purple belt thing. Start teaching, sure.
Start teaching a little bit. I don't think that's necessarily the right path or productive for everybody.
No, absolutely not.
I think purple belt's way more subjective, and for my mind, purple belt is where we've got to kind of make a distinction, right? Like what kind of student is this? What is that student's goal, right? I mean, if you've got, a 45-year-old professional who's in here to have fun and stay in shape and not be bored, then, right, like I'm not looking for a long string of submissions for their advancement, but I might really be looking for that kind of person to be teaching more, to be helping other people out, to be translating that technique in their head over and over again. Meanwhile, we get these young guys just foaming at the mouth and out for blood.
Hungry.
Yeah, in that case, all right, you want to advance, let's play fetch.
I think
bring me 4 arms.
The teaching the
Think
class.
about it.
Bring me some pelts.
Yeah.
The teaching the class is obvious, and it's part of the path for sure, not for everyone, but like a classic example, I think a really highly overlooked one. I think pretty much every purple belt should be at least thinking about and or working on is finding some drill partners, setting up a drill time.
Yeah.
And that's teaching, probably in a different context, but it is like how you can maximize your time on the mats working on the things you need to. Any white belt, whatever it is you're working on, they'll be great for them, or green belt or blue belt or whatever. And the interplay between the purple and the lower belts will be good for the purple belt. But they can schedule it whenever works for them, right? So if they have a busy work schedule, they're married, they have kids, whatever. If it's Sunday at 5:30 a.m., someone is down to drill at that time.
Sure.
So set it up, get it going.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that very much as a distinction between blue and purple also. Purple belts taking significantly more responsibility for the direction of their advancement, for the direction of their education. I think not just passively learning the information, but starting to map out their own course. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not just reasonable, but really expected for white belts, green belts, blue belts to be in class, to go through the curriculum as laid out, to just absorb as much as they can. And then as folks advance, further into the blue belt, having a distinct thing that you are working on that may or may not be related to class or may not be related to the theme of the week or the month or whatever, is going to be super important. Then in the purple belt, right, you should definitely have a 6-month project that does not have to be related to class in any way, shape, or form. Have a big project that's, all right, this is my jiu-jitsu. This is...
You want to learn the Kimura trap. You want to learn whatever it is. Let's do it. Yeah. What's that called in high school? You have your study hall or whatever where you're do your own studies. It's college where you can have a self-directed course.
Yeah, like a independent study.
Yeah, independent study. Yeah. There will be a time for questions, and it's a purple belt.
Yes, ask all the questions.
And that's oversimplified, right? I do want white, green, whoever. I want everyone asking questions, but it should be pertinent to how to learn the move at hand.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to say it?
I
What do you think?
think so, definitely. And I think it goes back to kind of a theme that we've hit on a couple times, like being right here, right now. And I don't think that.
Ram Dass said that.
There you go.
Be here now.
Okay. It's a very smart extra-dimensional being. Yeah, I think then that applies if you are a day one white belt or if you are, the crustiest old black belt. Don't let your mind wander. If you're here in class, be here now. Pay attention to the thing that's being said. Rep the thing that's being done. But yeah, if you're a purple belt, have a plan.
You come into the door,
Do your
you
thing.
take your shoes off, you do your little Mr. Rogers, take your shoes off, you put your gi on, you bow onto the mat. There's a whole series of ceremonies where you put away the outside world and you bring yourself into this world here, where you're focused on exactly one thing.
Yeah. So while class is going on, focus on class. But then, have your big projects. Enjoy. I mean, it's the speech of the week this week. Right? Have fun. Enjoy the journey. It's really, really true. Enjoy yourself. Right? If the same side control escape in fundamentals class is what we're doing again, and you've seen it 19 times and you're bored, right? Okay, rep something else. Pick something that's fun for you. Pick something that's interesting. Pick something that you connect to. There's no.
On the other hand,
It's all about having fun.
challenge. Pay so much attention to it and try to pick up a detail that you've never seen before, because there's probably several of them in there.
Yeah.
Purple belts, let's see, competent with all this stuff from blue belt, the escapes, and connecting it to at least one, but probably multiple attacking positions, solid control on top. See if there's anything I missed.
I think you did touch a little bit on avoiding your opponent's strongest pieces of game. I think there's an additional piece of that, or like a incorporated piece of that is you build up the ability to kind of analyze a fighter, analyze your opponent fairly quickly, to where you get in there from either a quick view of one of their other matches or an assessment of their physicality or the first 10 seconds of moving around with them, whatever, and you say, oh, well, this person is particularly strong, or I saw their good wrestling takedowns,
Their
or
fingers are all taped up and they have huge cauliflower ear. Should I try to take them down? Yes or no? No.
right, but yeah, learning to read, get an idea of, oh, that's a hooker. Don't hook him.
Never hook with a hooker.
That's bad news. All right.
Is that our time signal? Brown belt is a, further refining of purple belt, further taking on of responsibilities. I think it's worth taking a step back and talking about brown and black belts. I start to look more at their character as a person, and a lot of the time, jiu-jitsu weeds out people with bad character. But sometimes that needs to be addressed. Like I don't want to give a black belt to a person. I don't think I ever will, that have questions about their character. They're doing bad stuff in their lives.
I already feel very, very responsible for any promotions I give. And I absolutely do not want to be responsible for putting jiu-jitsu into the wrong hands. So yeah, character is a big big piece of that higher advancement.
Anything else overlooking 30,000 feet overview?
I mean, the two big characteristics that stand out in my head for brown belts is calling your shots and laziness.
Okay, tell me more.
So, like with brown belts, I will challenge them, push them to call their shot, to tell their opponent what they're going to take.
Mm-hmm. Pull Babe Ruth.
Yeah, and so then forcing them to really set it up, right? Okay, your technique has to be undeniable when they already have it in their mind that they only have to deny that one thing, and so it makes you work a lot harder, and it makes you tight and tricky, crafty. Like you're gonna have to change angles and maybe what was it circumlocate?
So circumlocute.
Your whatever you want, So I think calling your shots is a superpower that brown belts should have. And then
That's a good one. I've not used that one.
The very biggest thing that I learned in brown belt was laziness. It was like I don't have to jump to the back. I can just stay close and kind of crawl to the back.
And some of that is really, really up to a certain point. Lazy. I'm going to say energy efficiency in jiu-jitsu.
And really, that's what it is.
Is very, very good.
Yeah.
Up to a certain point.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to push it just past that where you're not progressing.
Yes.
You're not challenging yourself.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess laziness is kind of a bad word, but
Well, laziness is past that point where it's useful. Before that, it's energy efficiency.
yeah. So yeah, brown belts should be efficient. Should be able to take on 9 white belts and not spaz out with their spaz. Right.
Well,
The brown belt should be that oak in the hurricane that just
moving the young moves.
yeah. They're good. Just right here.
Well,
But yeah, I don't know. At the same time, we could get into the excruciating detail of the advanced game.
the minutia. We should definitely do that. I guess we have a black belt is renewal all over again, right? Restarting the journey. You now speak the language.
Congratulations, you can read.
Start
Go to
writing,
first grade.
Start writing your own book, right?
Yeah.
Start. When I got my black belt, I went and went through the fundamentals with that black belt eye, and it was enlightening how much I'd missed, or little details that needed refining, and I also picked out other big projects to work on and figured out how exactly I learn as a jiu-jitsu student on my own, not having something given to me by A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but figuring it out for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was big. Yeah, I thought of the black belt as the beginning. Like, okay. Now I understand this language. I can start doing something. Yeah, it took a little bit of everything, or not a little bit of everything, a lot of everything.
Right?
Yeah.
You pour everything you have into it, you get so much more out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's should we
That's good, yeah.
leave them wanting more.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, whatever the relevant thing is. Leave some comments. Let us know if you have any questions, anything wasn't clear, anything else you'd like to see, anything you hate about our appearance. We're very focused on that.
Yep.
What else?
All right. So in the comments, see if you eagle-eyed viewers can tell how many different varieties of gummy we ate on today's show.
And which of you caught the keyword today?
So 2 challenges. Can you find the keyword? How many gummies did we eat? Yeah. All right. So thanks for watching. Thanks for coming out.
Break on 3. 1, 2, 3.